It's time for Michigan's retirement coach, Mike Douglas.
Glad to have you here with us alongside Michigan's retirement coach, certified financial planner, Mike Douglas, who is here to share his ideas, his insight, his education with you. Let's talk about one of the most common retirement tools, at least in the United States, and the problem with misconception around the 401ks.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and the history of the 401k, it is very fascinating because it actually started out back in the day as a tool for like high income earners to defer taxes on some level. And now here we are, basically anybody in a corporate America can have one and uses them. And they continue to come under increased scrutiny because, again, they were never intended to become a retirement plan. So wealth advisor Nicole Webb was telling Fox Business how 401ks, they are meant for saving. They are not the plan. Here's what she said.
They were the third leg of a stool. It was Social Security. And then what was more common when there was the inception of the 401k, which was a pension, the second leg. And then the third leg was this savings account, that excess bucket for additional liquidity that you could tap into over and above two fixed income streams. Now it's a lot of the onus of retirement savings has been put on the employee and only on the employee. And so it's really about getting ahead of don't make that the only place you're saving money. And how are you building out the three legs of your stool?
Feel so many things that she said. The onus has been put upon the employee, but also don't just plan on it. And it's like, hang on. So what else the heck do we have to plan for, Mike? Thinking about what she said, thinking about the history of the 401k and where we've come to it with it now. How do we work to create more income streams besides Social Security for ourselves? What do we need to know?
Yeah, she's using some planning tools that very historically have been there. I mean, the three-legged stool of retirement's been around a long time.
Yeah.
And the idea is you have a pension, a Social Security, and then supplemental income from your retirement accounts, whether it's 401k or 403b, 457, whatever your retirement accounts are, they're supplemental. And that theory came around, think of it more of like your parents' retirement.
Okay.
Right? When in 1980, almost 40% of American workers had a lifetime pension.
Got it.
That's a huge number, almost 40%.
Social Security, there weren't benefit cuts looming.
Correct.
Yeah.
And now here we sit in 2025. And currently less than 8% of Americans will retire with a lifetime pension. And even of those who get one promised to them, a lot of people don't trust them.
Yeah.
They'd rather fund their own.
Yeah.
So less than 8%. The second leg of the stool is Social Security. On the Social Security website, they tell us that without major reform within the next 12 to 13 years, we're looking at cuts of up to 25% for everybody. That includes those who are already receiving benefits plus future benefits. When you do that, when you have pensions disappearing, Social Security most likely not paying out all it was promised, your 401k goes from supplement to the primary source. It becomes one of the biggest things you can do to build a retirement plan. And yet we treat it like it's still a third leg of the stool.
Right.
We don't account for specific planning inside of it that is designed to use it how it's supposed to be. A lot of people don't understand the difference necessarily in a 401k or a Roth or all these different things. If you have questions about how they work, and the problem is when you try to go through it, there's a lot of confusing information online because people use financial language to explain a financial question. And it's like saying, I don't understand Chinese. And they say, well, let me tell you some Chinese so you can understand it. It just doesn't work. And so I think it's really good for people to have these conversations to understand it better in language that we speak in real time. To the point of what are you supposed to do with it now? When we get income from our 401k, which is more and more of a priority, we have to understand the pros and cons of the different sources. There's several different ways you can do it, but really it boils down to about 3 or 4 major options you have.
Okay.
The first one you can do is you can say, all right, I've got X amount of dollars in my 401k. Let's just pick a number, right? If we say you have $1 million in your 401k, maybe between you and your spouse, whatever, there's what's called the rule of 4%. The rule of 4% says you can take $40,000 out of that million and the money should last you 30 years. The rule of 4% came out in 1995. It's come under a lot of scrutiny recently because people don't think it's a sustainable number anymore. But other people say, well, shoot, if the market does 11% per year, then I can get more out of that. It's just there's some pros and cons to it. And we talked before about if the market's down and you pull from it, that's a bad thing. If the market's up and you pull from it, it's a good thing.
Right.
So there's some timing there. That's the first option. The second option is you take a portion of that portfolio and you commit it to preferred stocks or some dividend funds that will specifically kick out enough income you need. And so you were kind of reverse engineer out what it makes sense. I need $30,000 a year. Okay, well, if I can get something paying a 5% dividend, then I need $600,000 committed to dividends, and that will give me $30,000 a year. And then the remaining portion of your 401k can go to something else.
Okay.
So that's the second option. The third option is some form of an annuity. Now, there's good ones and bad ones. There's some that are excessively high in fees and still bring risk, but they give you some benefits on the back end. And there are some that are very low in fees, don't really get you much in returns, but they guarantee a lifetime income stream. So it's about figuring out if any of those make sense. They oftentimes don't make sense for people, but they can. I had someone who came to us and he worked for GM. And he actually got pretty high up at GM.
Yeah.
And he got to the point where he had said, I'm being offered a pension or a buyout, a lump sum, basically. And I said, what are you thinking about doing? And he says, well, here's the problem. I was working at GM in 2007, 8, 9, and 10. I've been there when they've gone bankrupt. I don't trust my lifetime income to somebody that I've had to walk through a bailout. Yeah. And it was a real big issue to him. And he was a lifer. He was there for 36 years. So his biggest thing was, I'm taking the lump sum and I'm taking control back.
Yeah.
And I understand that. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't. It's an equation we have to work through.
Sure.
But he said, can I buy my own pension? And I went through the options with him. I said, we can do a market portfolio, preferred stock, or dividend. And we ran all the numbers. And he ended up deciding to go with an indexed annuity.
Okay.
And that made sense for him and his family.
Yeah.
Other families have come through and we say, actually, because of the income you want, we really need to go the route of preferred stocks and dividends.
Okay.
And that's a good option too.
Yeah.
But it's about him and his family. It's about you and your family.
Yeah.
We don't want to take generic things. We don't want to listen to some radio show or some podcast or some whatever. And some guy says, you should only do this. Like, that's not fair. You know, my family's different than their family. I had a 79-year-old client who said, are you invested like me, thinking that we should be invested the same? Like I have skin in the game.
Right. You're like,
I said, no,
40,
I'm 41 years old and I do this for a living and I'm very risk comfortable. You are 79. We shouldn't be the same
at all.
And we're not. And she goes, oh, I guess that makes sense. And I understood where her heart was. She was like,
she's like, I want to be invested in what you're invested in, Mr. Financial Advisor. Like, give me what you got.
Like, she's like, if you're putting me into this, do you trust enough to put your own money into it? I said, I don't put my money into it, but my parents' money is in it. How about that? She goes, that sounds good. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. It's about just making sure things make sense and that you have an income plan that is current. If you're wondering if you have the right income setup, our offers, we want to talk about having a complimentary custom retirement income game plan. That's a lot of words. A game plan that's built for your family, for today and for the future, designed with your goals in mind, using today's metrics. Don't use old models. Don't use a rule of 4% if it doesn't work for you. Don't get sold an annuity if you shouldn't have an annuity. Do what makes sense for your family. Everyone's different. A custom retirement income game plan that helps you plan for the future. Go to our page, michigansretirementcoach.com. Click on the button that says Start Your Retirement Roadmap today, and we'll help make sure that you are prepared for whatever comes.
We also have links posted in the show notes, so if it's more convenient, you can just click there or get our website, michigansretirementcoach.com.
Thanks for listening to Michigan's Retirement Coach with Mike Douglas. To learn more, visit michigansretirementcoach.com.
Michael Douglas is an investment advisor representative of Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Michael Douglas is licensed in your state, please call 517-323-7526. Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Michael B. Douglas, NPN number 9650939.